Good morning. I hope you're all doing well during this challenging time, and that you're staying safe, and your families are well. I'm going to be creating some YouTube videos to help you with the new content. And this first one is just a little introduction to these normal distributions. So if you look here, here is a model. This is what we're talking about. A normal distribution is like this, called a bell curve. And basically, if we take a bunch of data, let's say it took all the test scores for maybe 50 students and we looked at them, then if we said it was normally distributed, um, we could say that most of the people in the class were in this blue area, and then some people would be higher in this red area, and then some people would be way up here. So maybe you think this is maybe C's, B's, and maybe A's. Then over here, maybe we'd have D's and fails, right? So you can see that you usually have maybe more people that got C's, and then fewer people that got B's and A's, and then fewer people that got D's and fails. That's one way to think of a normal distribution. And the two things you need to know to use a normal distribution is the notation. So we say N for normal. We need to know where the middle of the distribution is. We call that the mean, so the average. And then we need to know the standard deviation. So how far apart is the data? So those are the only two pieces of information you need if you know it's a normal distribution. You need to know the mean and the standard deviation. So for example, if I use that idea of a test score and I told you that the class was, I had 50 students and they took a test and the scores were normally distributed and the mean came out to be, let's say, 70 on the test with a standard deviation, let's say 6 points, then we could look at this distribution and we can make some predictions on it, which is what we're going to do in the next example. Just draw a little curve. You put the 70 right in the middle. And then you can see here, we're going to make 3 marks to the right. So there's 1 mark, 2 marks, and 3 marks. So we go 1, 2, 3. And then we do the same thing to the left as we do here. 1, 2, 3. So we go 1, 2, 3. And that cuts up our curve. And then if we wanted to figure out what those little marks are, we could just start adding this number here, 6. So this next one would be 76, 82, and then 88. And if I subtract 6, I'd be at 64, 58, and 52. And then the cool thing is now I can start to compare it to this normal curve, right? And we're going to talk about in the next section 7.1, we're going to talk about the empirical rule where we could say that this area in the middle here, this big area, represents 68% of all the scores. And that would be between 64 points and 76 points for this example. And then if we moved out 2 spaces, just like up here, this is this chunk right here, that's 2 spaces out. The first one was 1 space out. That represents 95% of everybody. And then if you go out 3 spaces, which is all the way down here, all the way from here to here, that represents 99.7%. It's almost everybody in the class. We call that the empirical rule, which I'm going to talk about in the next video.